cracks here. You gotta look at it and see what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of. So oh, that's a pretty good grain. No splits in it. This has a lot of splits. Right there from when I broke it. So I'll go with the natural shape of the wood. Grain's oriented this way. It's got a slight bow that way. And it's got the taper in it, so I'm gonna go with, this is the top, this is the bottom. Make the handle make the handle down here. So I'm gonna use my hand to judge where I want the grip to be. And I'm gonna just use this pencil to mark out where I want it to end at. You can use this compass or caliper. You can use the compass. It's a compass as a caliper, like, you know, you can measure to make sure you're even, or like widthwise. You know, you can set this here along the edge, and you can drag it to make a straight line. You see that? Good tool. Old technology, but accurate, lightweight, cheap, durable. All of the build. That's why it's such old technology, but it's still around. It's because it's just super good invention. Makes circles. Make circles with it. See? Any size. You can use it to find the center of an object. Use it to measure objects up to a certain degree. Wonderful tool. Okay, so enough history lesson. Back to the wood. So I'm going to just go ahead and roughly sketch that from here to there. If I needed to, I could get my square out and square that up. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Eyeballing it's good enough for something like this. So I don't exactly know. Oh. Do the same thing I did before, and I split it, and I'm just gonna kind of start to score it here along that line I made. Trying to keep it as straight as possible. I want to saw this off. You just want to... Basically what I'm doing is making a relief cut like I showed you in the last video. Basically, that'll give me a spot to start thinning down the blade. I'm going to leave this chunky at first. You can always take some off, you can't put it back with wood. Excuse me. When I first started doing construction work, the foreman of the job site used to play jokes on all of the new guys, yell at them to go get the board stretcher. What's the board stretcher? Where's the board stretcher at? There's no such thing as a board stretcher. So that goes with my comment about you can always take more off. It's really hard to put back wood once you take it off. Might as well just get a new piece. Start over. Alright, so I'm going to say that's good enough to start getting the profile. I'll refine that a little more as we go. You see how it has this like natural inclusion in the break? I'm going to call that's why I picked this as the tip plus the direction of the grain. So I don't know what would be the easiest for me to form. So I'm going to start. I don't want to go too deep. Get off little bits at a time. Refining it little bit by little bit. Start with the corners. I'm mostly just locking my arm on this side and dragging the wood across the knife. It's easier than trying to push this and hang on to this and push this. You could pull this and hang on to that. So it's just different techniques. You can do either or, whichever one's more comfortable, but let's start with these corners. Stuff's been sitting outside a long time, so it's real dry. It's a little harder to cut through than stuff that's wet. But it also tends to crack easier if it's dry. If you drop it, it'll crack until you can get some finish on it, like wax or linseed oil, or you could even use paint, varnish. There's some lacquer stains, like stains with lacquer in them. Ah. Once you start getting down to like a smaller area like that, you're starting to get all the corners off and whatnot, you want to start looking at the wood, because this is the part where you want to start evening things out, trying to keep them symmetrical. See how I got this big dig right here? It's not one on that side, so that's lower than this side. And I want to keep that in mind as I go, so I don't end up with some wonky, lopsided end product. Okay. So I think I'm going to go with the dagger shape. I'll start profiling this out just a little bit here, just to give myself an idea. I'm using that back cut I was showing you guys. This back cut is real thin, you want to be careful. So I initially thought to go with the dagger. As I was whittling, I think I'm gonna go with the Bowie style with the curved back here. So it's gonna come at an angle this way, curve back up this way, come down here. Getting a little lopsided off the handle. So look at it. When I look at it, and you can see how it's angling this way. And some of that's just the grain of wood, the direction the wood grain's going, but you can cut some of that out. So if you come at it from right here, you start to see this side straighten out. This side's still a little lopsided there from where the tip's at. Okay. And I was just going to do a standard straight dagger, but as I was doing it, the knife kind of just cut through the wood at a certain angle and started choosing what kind of shape it was going to make on its own. So I just went with it and let it flow natural and make it easier on you, and the product will come out better just because that's what the wood wants you to do to it. Don't fight it, just let the wood tell you what it wants. So come in here. See, that piece broke off, it got too thin. So when that happens, you just come back down a little further, start reprofiling it. That means that piece of wood was flawed in some way. So it's good to get that out now. So you just reprofile it. Start to get a lot of the weirdness in this shape is coming from the taper on this, so it's kind of throwing me off when I go to gauge it, so I'm just going to take some of that off, level this out a little better. Straighten these out a little bit. Okay. You can do it with the saw or with the blade. You just score a hole here, and then you can cut back more like this. Or you can always cut it back, peel it over, and come back and cut it. around down the corners of this a little bit to make it easier to grab and less likely to give me splinters. Remember, you want to leave a ton of this material because that's where you're going to put your handle at. You don't want to take too much down off the bat. I'm just getting it more symmetrical for myself. Okay. So back to the blade. Just keep profiling it till you're happy where that's at. You don't want to thin it out too much, but you do want it to have like the resemblance of a knife or whatever, so people can know what it is when they look at it. Plus, you want it thin enough to be useful. You want to open a letter, or I'll use it for a butter knife, or if it's done right and finished properly, this could actually be a sharp knife that could, cut soft things. I discovered a knot in there. That's not good. When you see something like that you don't like, instead of trying to hack at it with the knife, and see if you can sand it out. It's like with metal, you see cracks, you want to grind them out. This is just some 220 from Walmart. Cheap stuff. If I would have kept trying to cut at that, it could snap off and run in its own direction and mess up the tip like it did before. So just kind of want to catch it and grind it out. I even have some coarser. Got some 80 grit here. You can just fill it with your thumbnail if you feel it and nick it. You see how I'm catching? Gotta get that out. Carpentry, my boss told me, if you could close your eyes and run your hand across it, if you were blind, since you have your eyes closed, like pretend you're blind, and if you can feel anything, it's not good. So, just pretend you're blind, run your finger across it, and if you're blind and you can't see it, it's good. If you're blind and you can't see anything, but if you're blind and you can't, you know what I'm saying. So that feels pretty good to me. I can still see the groove there where it used to be, but we'll cut that out. Wind. The darker strands of this, where the brown lines are versus the peach or beige areas. The beige area is the real soft area. When you start hitting these darker areas, it's where the wood's more dense. It's where the rings are formed. See the rings here? The rings that shows how old the tree is. Those are the, I guess, the layers where the bark used to be. So for each one of those, it sheds the bark and then regrows a new bark over the next coming year. So it's more dense there. This is the part where I'm really trying to make it get it symmetrical and even out the thickness on each side and the shape, the overall shape. The closer you can get it to straight and even now with the knife, the less sanding you have to do. See that spot? I just cut out that thing I was sanding. Gone. Gone, no split. Every once in a while I'm stopping to look at certain angles. It needs work. So I'm going to start beveling out the blade. for the end piece here, you gotta start cutting these at an angle. So just come back here. Follow that line I just made up this way. So back over to the other side. If I do a little bit on this side, then I'll stop before I go any further. Start doing a little bit on this side. Try to make it match. Once they're pretty symmetrical, if I need to take more off, I'll go back to the other side. Just keep working back and forth so you don't take too much off of one side or the other too soon. Because like I said, you can't put these chips back on, you know. It's like, when am I going to glue it? I mean, you could glue it and then sand it down, and it's always going to be a weak point with the repair in it. So like if I messed it up right now, I'd be better off just getting a new piece of wood, starting over, than trying to fix it. Alright. So this back piece is going to have a point to it, so will the front come to a point. See, that's already starting to get the way I want it. So I'll just stop while it's still got a ledge on it, so I can start working on this. And this one's going to have a straight line. I mean, it's going to be flat here. That's where you get all, it's the spine of the blade, is where you get all the strength for the rest of the knife at. Once I get this straight, then I'll be able to see which side needs more taken off. Need some to come out here. I don't like to wear gloves because you can't feel the wood on your finger. I use my fingers a lot to like see, basically to see with, and feel the wood. So if you wear gloves, while it's safer, it also makes you less I mean, you could be as accurate with the eyeball, but there's certain aspects that you can pick up with the sense of touch better than you can with the looking at vision or whatever. And you can still get that stuff through vision. It just takes longer. You know, you have to look at it and re-look at it, engage it, and flip it, and look at it again. And whereas I could run my hand across it, like I could feel the lump there. You know, I don't have to turn it at an angle and look at it and look at the other side and flip it back over. And I mean, you're using both your vision and your sense of touch the whole time. So that's why I don't wear gloves. Plus, I'm an idiot, so I don't really care if I have a cut or scratch or gouge. You can see all the scars and moments of stupidity all over my body, basically. It's straight knees and yeah, but so I'm starting to get relatively close to what I want for a final profile of the blade, and I will stop short of the final profile, leaving the remaining shaping to do with the sandpaper or file, maybe a little bit of both. I don't actually have the file out, so which would have been useful earlier. But I just wanted to show that you can do this with just, you know, a couple basic things. Don't need all the big fancy tools and stuff like that in order. I mean, it makes it easier, but it takes some of the fun away, if you ask me. To use the big belt sanders and power tools and all that. It's more primitive, more time consuming, but more entertaining, in my opinion. More fun for me, more fun to watch for you guys, and cheaper. So that's still good and strong. You know, it looks kind of thin there, but it is. I mean, you could kill somebody with this. I mean, something. You could definitely stab that into a tree. It might not stay sharp after a couple of pokes, but makes a hell of a toothpick. It's also a good media to use, like say you're the kind of guy that likes to do forging or I don't know, 3D printing, or even like you could use this for a mold for sand casting. You just whittle it in, scan it into your computer, and you can 3D print. You could stick this in a block of sand, bury it, cover it up. It would leave you the shape that you need. As you can see, I did this within 30 minutes, 45 minutes maybe. Had a bunch of fun and created my own unique shape, profile, design. You can make anything out of wood, anything. If you take your time and you got a couple of tools that you need, good imagination, some creativity, and some time, and you could make damn near anything out of wood. That's why I love it. Plus, I love the way it smells, the way it looks, the fact that it's a renewable resource. It's beautiful. It's forgiving. It's repeatable. I mean, you can replicate the same thing over and over again to a certain level, depending on how good your eye is and how talented you are with a knife. But many benefits. It's like we've been using wood as a construction. It's one of the main construction materials that we have today. Glass, concrete, metal, wood, plastic, basics, you know. And of them all, wood's my favorite. I think it has to do with the fact that Jesus was a carpenter, and when I was a boy, I wanted to be like him. So I went into woodwork. Started learning what I could about it, and really enjoy it. So now I'm going to start going down into the handle. I haven't decided the exact shape for the handle that I want, but I'm just going to start getting some of the bulk out, and then I'll get into what shape I want. So this has, like, I just noticed, like I was saying, you look at the wood and you see what it provides you. This has like a little angle right here that's fatter, so I think I'm going to come down, since this is the front, I'm going to come down here for the handle, kind of shape it out this way. Kind of like that. So there's like a nice blocky area down there for my hand to fit into, and I'm going to use my actual hand to gauge where I want that at. So I would say, like before, just grab it where you need it. I'm just gonna kind of outline my fingers to show myself where my fingers sit comfortably, and that'll give me this shape, and I can just kind of connect it right here. Connect it like that. I may even put a little trigger here. See if I can swing a trigger, a pistol grip or whatever. Okay, so I got this rough shape on this side. So what I'm going to do is just pull that line straight across here. Pull this line straight across here. And that'll give me the rough area for the other side, which I'll just use my other hand. Kind of do the same thing I did before, is outline. It's harder to do left-handed, but when you're right-handed, but you can do it kind of sloppy, and then just keep in mind it's a rough guide. I'm just gonna come back with the good hand. Connect all that. Look at the other side and see what you need as far as symmetry. Alright. Just taking a guessing at that. It's about right. So then I'm going to take this, kind of drag it backwards. The direction of the teeth are going this way, so I'm going to drag it this way to start. It's easier to drag than push. You want to cut deep though, you start pushing. You gotta get it a little groove for the blade to sit in before you start pushing. I'll just get a notch there so I can get started. Okay, so that'll give me a base to start with for hollowing this area out. So start working down, down. I'm using my thumb here to help strengthen the other thumb, so it's got like double strength to make those controlled cuts. So what I'm going to do now that I'm getting down to the bottom of that mark I made with the saw, I'll just use the knife and I'll start guiding it, cutting across the grain. Right here and on the top and on the other side, so that I can start doing this cut, this angle right here. Because I want this to be round right here, so I'll do that cut like that. It'll slowly start to give me that nice round angle I want. Sorry about all the background noise. I live in a noisy neighborhood. Alright. So this is where it starts kind of getting tricky, but we'll come back to that. Best way to get this section right here would be to have a round file, but I don't actually have one, so kind of just taking my time and cutting this little rounded shape in there that I want. And do the same thing on this side. Video's getting kind of long, but you can see it's getting there. I think a 2-part video might be a 3-part video. I can show you how to finish it out in the next one. Sand it up and do some finish on it. Finish profiling it. Alright, see ya.